Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Since it's freezing across most of the country and down here it's sunny and like 50 degrees, I figure it's half-mile testing time. In this video we test both the Ferrari SF90 Strut Dolly and the McLaren 765LT Spider down the half mile to see which one has the edge from 0 to over 190 miles an hour as we cross the half mile mark. Now these cars are pretty much the quickest and fastest production cars down the half mile you can buy without spending $3 million or more on like a Bugatti Chiron or Rimac Nevera. Now, yes, before everyone comments about the Tesla Plaid, which yes, I still have, it actually got booted outside of the garage by the Mazda RX-7. The Plaid is currently speed limited, so half-mile testing just isn't quite possible yet. Now, as far as I've seen, this might be the first half-mile speed test benchmarking done on the Ferrari SF90. A question I get a lot about the Ferrari is, does it slow down or lose power at higher speeds because the two front electric motors in this car actually turn off at around 130 miles an hour. Now, if you're not familiar with the powertrain on the SF90, let's quickly go over it. Most of the power is made by its 4.0-liter twin turbocharged V8. That engine makes about 769 horsepower. The rest is made by 3 electric motors, which result in a total of 986 horsepower. Each of the front wheels has an electric motor, and there is a third electric motor located between the engine and the transmission. So most would think that if we turned off 2 of the 3 electric motors at around 130 miles an hour, the SF90 would lose power and slow down. Now go ahead, pause the video right here, and comment below if you think the SF90 slows down or not as it passes 130 miles an hour. Now, as much as I would have loved to race both the 765 and the SF90 side by side down the half mile to show you just what it looks like, that just wasn't possible. So the closest we can get to is running each car down the straight airstrip one at a time, back to back, same conditions, same everything, and see what kind of results we get from the draggery. We did a few tests and I'm gonna show the best of each in this video. Now the numbers say that these cars should actually be dead even, as the power to weight ratio between these two cars is equal at about 4 pounds per horsepower. I've personally weighed the McLaren 765LT Spider at 3,160 pounds, and while it's rated at 755 horsepower, we're gonna call it 800 because when I dynoed my coupe a few years ago, it actually put down 769 horsepower to the wheels. Now, as for the SF90, it weighed in at 3,920 pounds and makes 986 horsepower as per Ferrari. Someday we'll get the SF90 on the dyno to see what it really makes, but for now we're going to go by those numbers, and that's 4 pounds per horsepower. So here's what happened. I'm going to show you both draggy runs and then overlay both side by side so you can see how, the SF90 gets out pretty quick, maybe the McLaren catches up a little bit, and then see what happens in the end. Okay, so there you go. Not only did the SF90 not slow down, it actually trapped faster than the 765LT Spider at the half mile mark, which was honestly very surprising to see. We got 15.6 at 176 miles an hour for the 765LT Spider and 15.3 at 178 miles an hour for the Ferrari SF90. Both cars actually had considerable wheel spin off the line. It's pretty cold outside. It was about 50 degrees, and the tire temps were cold, and the surface conditions weren't great either. But you can ignore the launch because what we're really going for is the trap speeds and top end power numbers. So why didn't the SF90 slow down if it lost the 2 front electric motors at 130 miles an hour? You could actually see this happen if you watch the Ferrari hybrid information screen during the draggy run. This little diagram right here shows you exactly what's happening with the powertrain, charging, power usage, and so forth. Blue is for electric power and orange is for gas power. And on the launch here, you can see the different colors and where the power is going. From 0 to about 140 miles an hour, you can see the blue power going to the front and rear wheels. And you can see the orange power, of course, is only going to the rear wheels. Now, as per the diagram, you can see that after 140 miles an hour, the front wheels on the Ferrari lose power and the car continues to produce both electric and gas power to the rear wheels. Now, this information was a bit hard to find, but each of the front radial flux motors in the Ferrari has the ability to produce 130 horsepower each, for a total of 260 horsepower to the front wheels. The motor in the rear is actually a special axial flux motor. It's like a pancake that fits in between the engine and the transmission, and this motor by itself can produce 200 horsepower all on its own. Now, if you're following along here, that's a total of 460 horsepower available from the 3 electric motors. The kicker is here that the battery is only big enough, 7.9 kilowatt hour, or powerful enough to produce 217 horsepower at any given time. So what happens is that at the higher speeds, the front motors turn off as they probably can't spin enough, or they're no longer needed for traction, and the battery output is directed all towards the single rear electric motor in the back. So in theory, above 130 miles an hour, we might be losing about 17 horsepower, since the max output of the axial flux motor in the back is only 200 horsepower. Now, if you're adding up the numbers here, an interesting takeaway from this information is that the Ferrari SF90 is actually capable of making around 1,250 horsepower if the battery was upgraded with a higher density pack that can produce more horsepower. Now, maybe that's what's coming soon with the rumored SF90 VS, Speciale, Pista, whatever you want to call it, that a lot of people have been seeing some spy shots around Italy. I'm sure hoping so, because if we can drop some weight from the Ferrari and go to 1,250 horsepower, this thing's going to be, I mean, it already is a monster, but it's going to be even a bigger monster. Now, a couple of final notes. I get a lot of comments that the battery in the SF90 will drain as you continue to accelerate and we will lose power. Now, I have not been able to demonstrate that. I've done back-to-back half-mile tests. The battery is charged right back up by regen as soon as you start decelerating. You can actually see this happening if you watch the hybrid information display in the video. I also get comments on if the battery dies, you won't be able to go into reverse, as the Ferrari has no reverse gear in the car and the front electric motors are used for reverse. This is also not true because the axial flux motor between the transmission and the engine can actually act as an electric generator when it's spun by the gas engine. So start the engine, and that's being a generating power, providing power instantly to the front motor, so you're not going to lose reverse in any situation unless you ran out of battery and of course ran out of gas as well. Alright, so in summary, SF90, absolute monster, does everything extremely well. I personally hit 0 to 60 in 2.1 seconds on the street. And he keeps pulling all the way and then some, even staying ahead of the McLaren 765 LT. Let me know what you think in the comments of this comparison. As always, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. It helps the video and the channel, and we'll see you next video.